group of artists from the Vero Beach, Fort Pierce area, starting in the mid-50s, painting Florida landscapes. They got the name Highwaymen by a method of sales. They didn't have the typical opportunities afforded to them at that era of time.
Virtually all of these paintings are done by people who originally were migrant labor workers. They worked in the citrus groves here in Florida during the season, and then they would move up to Georgia and work in the cotton fields. So virtually all these kids who got out of that horrible work, which paid about $12 a week, they got out by learning how to paint.
So they created the paintings in their backyard, basically, tacked to a tree, took them on the road. This group consisted of 26 artists, one being a female, and she had a car. So she was very beneficial to the group by getting some of the paintings around.
This painting here is the St. Lucie River, and this area here, particular area, is Oxbow. When I moved to Fort Pierce when I was 5 or 6 years old, I just got placed in places where, you know, the things were happening with art. And then the Beanie Backers, who taught one of the original highwaymen, and then that highwayman taught another highwayman, and then it just went from that. And it seems like for me, myself, it's like I was always kind of like in the right place at the right time, you know, and it seemed like the art chose me, and it just followed me.
Typically, they used what's called Upson board. It was a cheap building material, somewhat inexpensive. They bought it in 4x8 sheets, were able to cut it to a size that worked for them, and they were able to stack them in a vehicle wet. They're oil paint, it doesn't dry, so they had to have a method of transporting these paintings, which they did. They were able to stack them with these frames on them and go on the road and sell them.
A lot of this stuff is if you just keep painting and be consistent at it, then it turns out to be a lot of times you make a mistake, but that mistake turns out to be a technique. And then you end up developing your own technique and your own style and your own sense of putting things together.
Now, this painting is done by James Gibson, and James is a personal friend of our facility here at Grassy Waters. He's done paintings specifically for us to help benefit Grassy. He shares that gift of not only his highwayman experience, but his love of art. So when you come and see James' paintings, you're going to see things that you just didn't realize ever existed. And he paints with beautiful colors. He uses a palette knife to bring out the absolute most of a painting. I think when you see his art personally, I think it'll make you want to understand the man more. When I grew up, it was all like this. No matter where you went, whether you went to the beach, you saw beautiful trees like this by the beach and beautiful ocean scenes. If you went west into the water catchment areas and the refuges, this is what you saw, but you don't see this anymore. It's an iconic image of Florida that's gone.
I kind of look at myself as I record nature, and I record it as it is at that particular time.
There was a commonly accepted belief that they painted up to 200,000 paintings. How many survived? Probably a lot of them were thrown out. There was a lot of them that were found in dumpsters. Just, you know, they were discarded. They were felt that maybe they weren't worth anything, but as time went on, people recognized it's an American success story, doing something that they weren't expected to do.
We're very fortunate through the city of West Palm that Grassy Waters is a section of Florida that was preserved. This wouldn't have happened if this area wasn't needed for its water resource. Through this art, we see that old Florida, but we also see it here in Grassy Waters. Grassy is an iconic image of old Florida. So the art that we see just kind of mimics what we see here in Grassy Waters on a day-to-day basis. And this view that we have through our front porch here at Grassy, you can't see that everywhere in Florida. So the art does reflect life in the sense that here we are at Grassy Waters with a perfect image of a highwayman painting.